Hey there, Adventure Logbook, and welcome to my In the Bag video. I am here filming today because I did this video maybe 2 days ago. I've been editing it, got to the end of it, and realized, wow, it's 25 minutes long. That's too long, nobody's gonna watch that. So I'm here to do this in hopefully one take and keep the video to 10 minutes or less. Why am I doing an In the Bag video? I'm an amateur. I don't play disc golf very well, and I think that my throwing style is probably more like maybe one of you viewers, as opposed to some of the pros that are out there making these videos whose throwing style is nothing like yours. So maybe, hopefully, you'll be able to take something from this, and if not, it's a fun kind of thought experiment for me to actually think about what I'm carrying with me. So let's get started. To start things off, I'm not going to turn it around, but I've got the putter pouch here, which holds my putters as well as a number of other things that are useful during the round that I want to get to quickly. So first off, we have a towel. I like keeping my discs dry, so best way to do that is always have a towel. It's got a little loop that goes right around the arm of the cart. Similar idea, carry a whale sack to help keep my hands dry. And then let's just get right into the discs here. To start out, I putt with Innova XT Novas. I really just like the firm flight plate that is on these discs, as well as the nice tacky, grippy edge. Not only do misses not usually skip that far on the ground, but the firm flight plate just gives it a nice clean feeling coming out of the hand on putts. I carry 2 of them. Coming back on this side of the cart, we'll start with the lunchbox here. I said towels. Well, I've got more of those in here. Oh, I packed them in there. So I guess we'll start with water bottle. Always good to have lots of water for a round. Smuggler's Notch Disc Golf Center, represent. Can't wait for them to open up in May, but right now I think they're still under about 2 feet of snow. What else? GoPro tripod. I'll be putting out a vlog for this Martha's Vineyard tournament that will be coming out sometime next week, so look for that. Tripod. And then, like I said, towels. It bothers me if my discs get super wet, so I carry multiple towels. You saw the one here. If that gets wet, there's a backup. If that gets wet, backup. If that gets wet, here's a fresh one. If that gets wet, there's a fresh one. All right, moving right along. Let's get to the main section of discs here. First up, we have the throwing putters. I carry 3, one for overstable, one for kind of neutral, and one understable for some turnover shots. The turnover shot is a Dynamic Discs Deputy, on which I write myself a not very nice note. Shoot smart, you idiot. When I first got this disc, I was trying to do all kinds of weird, like hyzer flips that were just turning this disc over way too quick, and I was trying to be too greedy with this disc. So I just like reminding myself, play the safe shot that I know I can make, because that safe shot is going to be with this disc. Moving right along in stability, if I have a nice straight approach, I'm going to be throwing this Lucid Warden. I can put a bunch of power into this and it's still going to hold pretty straight. If I put it on a hyzer, it'll hold that hyzer. It's a very, very predictable approach disc. And then last but not least, I have a BT Hard Harp. This disc is my headwind putter. If I've got a ripping headwind coming at me, I'll putt with this, but also on approaches where I need it to fade out at the end, I'm using my BT Hard Heart. Moving right along to mid-ranges, I carry 5. Again, lots of different stabilities in here, but only 3 molds. So this time we'll start again with the understable, the turn to the right early in the flight, and for me that's my Lucid Warrant. This disc, I'm really liking shaping shots in the woods with it. It has a pretty predictable turnover, and it'll finish either pretty flat or with just the slightest fade at the end. Stay there. Up next, I like EMAC Truths. I carry 3 of them in varying stages of wear to kind of affect slight amounts of differences in stability for them. This purple one is my oldest. It's pretty beat in at this point. I really like flicking this disc on long turnover shots, as well as actually some flick rollers if I need to get out of trouble and I'm in the middle of the woods. Not the middle of the woods, but I need to get through a quick gap and get on the ground. That's this disc. It also is pretty good to hyzer flip to flat and then stay straight if I'm backhanding it. A little bit more stable, I have this Sparkle Lucid. I like this disc. Again, it feels great for flicking and has a very predictable fade at the end. And then this Moonshine one, it's the most overstable one in my bag right now. It's pretty fresh and I'm liking it. And then last but not least, if there's a big headwind and I need something very overstable that will very predictably go left at the end of its flight, I carry this Lucid Justice. I don't need it every round. Even on rounds where I do need it, I might only need it for a couple shots, but Lucid Justice. Up next are Fairway drivers. This is the bread and butter of my bag. I don't carry many distance drivers, just because I don't have the arm speed for it, so a lot of my driving drivers are going to be fairways. We'll go from most overstable to least for this part. Just because that's the way they're in the cart right now. Innova Firebird, I think this was my second disc I ever bought. I know this disc like the back of my hand. It's my go-to forehand disc. I know that at the end of every flight, it's always going to be going left. And if I want it to skip, I can get it to skip pretty predictably as well. Innova Firebird. Along the same vein, I'm just going to cover up the phone number here. I have a Lucid Felon. This disc, I'm still kind of learning it. It's in the same category, I'd say, as the Firebird, just an overstable fairway. But it doesn't quite have that confidence factor of the Firebird, so therefore right now they're both kind of in the bag. Another go-to forehand disc is a Star Thunderbird. This is another one that I've had in the bag for a long time, and it just feels great in the hand for forehands. And when I just need a predictable shot that can get down the fairway without as much fade as the Firebird, I reach for this one. Moving into my overstable, but now we're moving into discs that I'm going to be backhanding, not flicking as much. I have 2 Fusion Convicts. I guess I do forehand these a little bit, but usually that's like a force over anhyzer that just pans out the entire flight. I can get a lot of distance that way, but it's not quite as predictable. More often I'm using these to backhand and have something that just pops just up to flat while keeping a hyzer and finishing to the left. Up next, we're getting a little less stable. I have 2 Fusion Escapes. This disc has really changed the way that I'm backhanding, and this is probably the furthest flying disc in my bag, and I'm just really liking my Escapes. Last but not least, for fairway drivers, not quite as far flyers as those Escapes, but another understable disc that I'm really liking for predictable hyzer flips, predictable turnovers, are my Mavericks. So I carry 3 of them, not so much because I'm cycling through stabilities the same way I am Emacs, but more because I never want to be without a Maverick. If I happen to lose 1 or 2, I always want a backup of these. So I'm carrying 3 for the tournament this weekend. This one, Lucid, signed by Eric Oakley. He came out and played around with us at Smuggler's Notch League last year, and was nice enough to sign this for me after. But I really like throwing this one. It's a little bit more beat in than these ones. This is probably my primary one right now, and it's just working really well for me. I'm excited to break this one out of the closet. It's been left inside all winter because in the snow, you can imagine that I was worried about losing it. So tournament with no snow this weekend, I'm bringing this one. And then another one that I've thrown a handful of times is this spin-dyed one. It's fusion plastic, so it's not lucid like the others. I think it's a little bit more overstable, and I'm just really liking the way it comes out of my hand. And it just does the same thing as these. It pops up, but then has a predictable fade at the end. Then last but not least are my distance drivers. I am not forehanding or backhanding really for distance. I'm not throwing a 12-speed driver with either of those. My distance drivers I use for my overhand shots almost exclusively. If there's a real ripping headwind, I might throw one of these with a flick, but 90% of the time I'm throwing these overhand, and these are Innova Star Destroyers. I carry 2. I carry one that's super beat up, that will go through its barrel roll on an overhand nice and quickly to get more predictable woods tomahawks that need to go through a tighter gap. And then I also carry a fresh one. The fresh one has a wider barrel roll, but more often it's going to be pretty, it's going to be longer than the other one, a longer throw. So that's my Star Destroyer. All right, well, that's what's in my bag. I tried to keep it to 10 minutes. It's 15 minutes now, so I'm going to just finish this off really quick. If you liked this, please leave a like. If you have thoughts on what I'm carrying, please leave a comment. If you have questions, absolutely, I'd be happy to answer them. And if you're liking the content that I'm putting out, consider subscribing. I would greatly appreciate it.